food prevent colorectal cancer? In the first video, we end with the top 7 sulfur-rich foods. We started with allium vegetables, which are onion, garlic, leeks, scallion, shallots, and then cruciferous vegetables, cauliflower, kale, arugula, bok choy, broccoli, Brussels sprout, cabbage, collard green, radishes, and watercress. And then another group of fibers, which is asparagus and artichoke, and another group of soluble fibers, which are inulin and asparagole in Hindi, but the name is psyllium husk, and this is used in, it is a bulking agent, and it is used both in constipation and in diarrhea. And in medicine, they produce a drug called metamucil, which is used as laxative. Now I'm going to speak about eggs. The eggs, especially if you buy organic eggs from chicken, which is lived on pastures and in nature, then because if you eat the eggs from the way they treat nowadays the chicken, they are unhealthy, and it is you are what you ate, meaning you are what you eat, but what you eat, it depends on what that thing you ate. For example, meat, beef, eggs, milk if you drink milk, how that animal was living. And also the plants, what type of soil it grows, what type of pesticide, insecticide, herbicides, anything. And especially animals, because they give them hormones, they give them antibiotics, and to make them fat. So now we come to the fish and meat. And fish is seafood, crab, chicken if it is organic and live in nature. And organic now in Britain it is less, because it used to be 1 kilo 15 pounds, but now it is 1 kilo 7.5 or 7 pound 50p, which is good. It is coming down in price. Also lamb, scallop, and organ meats. The high protein content in the fish and the meat, it increases the satiety, meaning the satisfaction, the fullness after a meal. And this could aid or help in weight management and in the body composition changes, because this hormone, which is leptin, it is secreted from the fat cells, and then it will send signal to the brain. It go in the blood to the brain and say to the brain, we had enough, we have eaten enough, and the person will feel satisfied. Of course, if you eat carbohydrate or sugar, the insulin will be produced, and the insulin will have many functions. Number 1, it stimulates growth of the cells. Number 2, and of course, if it is too much growth, it will lead to cancer, not because of the insulin, because of so many factors. Number 2, it stores energy. Number 3, it gives signals to the fat cell, don't burn any fat for energy, because now we are in the storage phase. Number 4, it inhibits leptin. And leptin is a hormone which is produced by the fat cells and in the blood, and then it stimulates the brain. So when you eat sugar, you don't feel satisfied. You want more and more and more, because you are both insulin resistance and leptin resistance. And what is insulin resistance? It means that the cells, they have fat inside and they have enough. They close the doors, they close the windows, and that's it. They say to the insulin, please go away, we don't want you. So the sugar will be high in the blood and the insulin will be high in the blood. And this is called insulin resistance, meaning that the insulin is not working anymore. But what is the cause? The cause is because of the fat inside the cells. Muscle cell, liver cell, kidney cells, it depends which organ is resistant to insulin. And of course, diabetes, before it starts, it doesn't start all over the body. It starts on one organ, and then it will manifest itself. But healthy lifestyle will decrease the fat, and when the body loses its weight, then the body becomes sensitive to insulin and sensitive to leptin. So it is compounded effect. It is biochemical effect. Bio mean living chemistry. Living chemistry. It is not like the chemistry of inorganic materials. And then another type of food is fruits, which is currants, peaches, raspberries, olives, dried fruits. Of course, all fruits, apples, pears, berries. Berries, they are very good because they contain fibers, They contain colors, which is anti-rusting, antioxidant, anti-cancer, and also low calories and more fibers and less sugar. So sulfur oxide is used as a preservative in dried fruits. That's why you see the fruits dried, they are in a nice shape and nice color. But in many cases, this material or compound will cause symptoms like asthma and allergy, other types of allergy in those people who are predisposed to sulfur oxide. And I have seen a man, Englishman, he was with us in the walk, he's in his 80s, and he showed me his arms and his chest. There is bleeding under the skin because he was sensitive to sulfur oxide, because he always eat processed food, tinned food, which contains sulfur. They examined him, they found him allergic to sulfur oxide. So he has to stop sulfur oxide, but he doesn't know how to cook. All his vessels or utensils to cook were plastic, and he cooked in microwave. So I helped him to buy Pyrex containers, and also I make him buy bread machine to do non-gluten bread. So it happens, these problems. Now, sulfur is also found in cheese, and some people, they talk about milk, but there is a lot of studies now against milk, because the cows, they are given food, not the grass, and they don't live in nature, and they are given growth hormones, estrogen hormones. The food is antibiotic, very high amount of antibiotic to make them fat. And also the cows, they eat food which is exposed to insecticides, herbicides, pesticides, all these toxic chemicals. And also they have pus, because the nipple of the breast or the udder become inflamed and infected, and there is pus cells, meaning dead white blood cell, because there is infection. So their immune system will come to fight the infection, and then they become dead, and then they produce whitish material, and it is mixed with the blood. But the authorities, they accept it as everything is acceptable, because they think it is pasteurized. The nuts and seeds, these are nutritional powerhouse, like peanuts, Brazilian nuts, walnuts, and almonds. And seed, like sesame seed, of course there is a brown sesame seed, and there is a black sesame seed, which is more expensive than the brown seed, and usually you get it in a smaller weight. For example, the brown sesame seed, I could get it in 1 kilogram packs, but the black sesame seed in 300 grams. And of course, the deeper the color, the healthier. The natural brown sesame seed is very healthy. It is very, very rich in calcium. It is even more than the cow milk, the sesame seed. So it is very important if you are looking after your bone and you want to prevent osteoporosis or thinning of the bones. And of course, black sesame seed is better, because the darker the color, the better. Sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, and in addition to the sulfur they also contain a series of monounsaturated fatty acids and polyunsaturated fatty acids. They contain fibers, protein, magnesium, and vitamin E. The consumption of nuts have been associated with a reduced risk of heart disease, gallstones in both sexes, in both genders, men and women, and also reduce the incidence of diabetes in women, not in men. There is some evidence that they may have beneficial effect on high blood pressure, cancer formation, and inflammation. Of course, inflammation is associated with all diseases, including cancer. Inflammation, it is also happening in the normal, natural processes like wound healing, but in this case, the inflammation is healthy and it is imbalanced. Because if the inflammation, there is check and balance, it is start, then it is stop, it is okay. But when it becomes out of balance, then it is bad and it will cause diseases. So the bottom line is sulfur is one of the most important minerals in the human body, and it is essential for the body healthy functions. It is also the key component of amino acids, which are involved in growth and muscle formation and tissue formation, bones, hair, skin, nails, earlobes, everything in the body. And what are these amino acids which contain sulfur? They are 4 in number: methionine, cysteine, cysteine, homocysteine, the same spelling, homo, H-O-M-O, cysteine, cysteine, and taurine, taurine. These are the 4 amino acids. They contain sulfur, but only methionine and cysteine are incorporated into the proteins. Cysteine, by virtue of its ability to form disulfide bonds, it plays a crucial role in protein structure and in protein folding pathways to make it a 3-dimensional structure. You see, the protein, it is very essential for function, and how it is making different functions. How? And it is the same 20 amino acids. So it depends sometimes the type of the amino acid, the quantity of the amino acid, and the shape it takes. Always it is folded in a 3-dimensional structure, and it is beautiful if it is enlarged under the electron microscopy. Even if you look to the antibodies and how it looks like Y letter, but upside down. The 2 arms up, and then the lower part of Y is down, and at the end of each arm there is a cavity to hold the antigen, and there is handle from this cavity to pull the antigen inside this cavity or this concavity, and then a clip on it, and to make the same shape as the trigger as the antigen. It is amazing. So methionine and cysteine are hydrophobic, meaning hydro mean water, phobic mean phobia, mean frightened from water. So that's why they stay away from water, and that is why methionine is one of the most hydrophobic amino acids, and so it is almost always found in the interior or inside of the proteins to be away from the water. So it is just like hiding. It does not like to mix with water. And as we said before, the protein is very important for the structures like bones, muscles, skin, hair, nail, blood. Also the function like the transport of CO2, carbon dioxide, oxygen, nutrients, waste product, fat, cholesterol, antibodies, antigen. Also enzymes are protein which increase the speed of the chemical reactions inside trillions of our cells, and which make our bodies, because our cells work 24/7, and there are trillions of reactions going on in our body in every nanosecond. And nano mean 1/1000th of a second. So now, fish and omega-3 fatty acid, it have been suggested to play a protective role in the colorectal cancer development, and there are studies in the lab and in the animal studies with the mechanism of action. The omega-3 is anti-inflammatory. Why? Because it's due to the inhibition of an enzyme called cyclooxygenase 2, and as acronym it is written as COX-2, COX small dash 2. C from cyclo, ox from oxygenase, and 2. And the production of arachidonic acid derived eicosanoids. These are all related to inflammation. So the omega-3 fatty acid, it is against inflammation. So fish and oily fish like sardines, mackerel, wild salmon, wild Pacific, sockeyes, salmon, trout are the main dietary source of long-chain omega-3 fatty acid. But there are observational studies found an inverse association between fish consumption and colorectal cancer risk, meaning more fish, less cancer. Less fish, more fish, less cancer. Less fish, more cancer. More fish, less cancer. While others did not. A recent meta-analysis study reported a 12% reduction in colorectal cancer risk, contrasting the highest consumption versus the lowest fish consumption. Some people, they recommend the krill, Krill. Why? Because they think krill are small and they are very small animals and they are less exposed to the toxic material in the Antarctic southern oceans. So the omega-3 from a krill, they think it is better, but it is very expensive. I mean, here I bought it 1 capsule for £1. It's too much. The krill are small shrimps like animals. They live in large school, which is called the swarms, SWARMS, reaching densities of 10,000 to 30,000 individuals, animal, per cubic meter. A krill can survive up to 200 days without food, and they can shrink in length as they starve and fast. So that is why they are very good adapted animals. The whales, they gorge on tons of krill every day. They eat the krills. Of course, they eat many other marine animals in the oceans. And the whale tongue is the size of an elephant, and the whale mouth could fit 41 individuals in the mouth of the whale. It is so huge. So there are, of course, the ratio of omega-3 fatty acid to omega-6 fatty acid, it should be 1:1. And omega-6 fatty acid, it is found in the vegetable oils, which is a processed oil, exposed to heat. Many chemicals are added to it. Many chemicals are taken from it to make it tasty, to make it beautiful. But this vegetable oil, corn oil, rapeseed oil, all these oils from vegetables, they are very rich in omega-6. And omega-6 is inflammatory. It causes inflammation. We need omega-6, but we need it in a small amount. And the ratio should be omega-3 1 to omega-6 1. But in the West, if we examine the blood in the Western people, we will find a ratio of 1 omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acid, 16 or even 20. And this is no good. And hence, the incidence of chronic inflammatory diseases, arthritis, and all the rest of these diseases, chronic inflammatory conditions, which is very common now in the West. Some people, they consider it a tsunami in the last 40 years because of the food we eat. There are supplements which are good in omega-3 like Spirulina, Spirulina. This has omega-3 in the form of DHA, capital letter, EPA, and ALA. The most important one in this omega-3 fatty acid is the DHA. Why? Because most of our brain and cell membrane in the brain, they consist of this DHA, omega-3 fatty acid. So it is important for brain health. In numerous phytonutrients, phyto mean plants, nutrient mean good food, good component of food, like beta-carotene, which change into vitamin A, and it is good for the health of the skin, of the vision, and complete amino acid profile. This is spirulina. It has complete amino acid profile. Spirulina is an organism that grows in both fresh water and salt water. It is type of cyanobacteria, which is a family of single-celled microbes that are often referred to as blue-green algae, algae. They are like plants, but cyanobacterium can produce energy from the sunlight, like plants, via a process which is called photosynthesis. Photo means light, energy is called photon, photo is light, and synthesis means making the energy from the light, sunlight. It is consumed by the ancient Aztec, and it became popular when NASA proposed that it could be grown in space for use by astronauts sent in space. And who is NASA? What is it? It is acronym for National Association and Space Association. And NASA started on October the 1st, 1958, as a part of US government, and NASA is in charge of the US science and technology that has to do with airplanes and space. This is NASA. This is the acronym N from National, A Association, and S from Space, another A, another association. So there are two associations. A standard daily dose of spirulina is 1 to 3 grams, but dose up to 10 grams per day have been used effectively. A single tablespoon, which is about 7 grams, of a dried spirulina powder contain protein 4 grams, vitamin B1, which is thiamine, 11% of RDA. What is RDA? It is the recommended dietary allowance per day for good health. So 1 tablespoon of spirulina, which is 7 grams, contain 4 grams of protein, vitamin B1, 11%, vitamin B2, which is the other name for it, riboflavin, 15% of the recommended dietary allowance per day, and vitamin B3, which is niacin, is 4% of RDA, copper, 21%, iron, 11%. So it also contains decent amount of magnesium, potassium, and manganese, and a small amount of almost every other nutrient that the body needs. And this amount, which is 70 grams of a dried spirulina, it is only 20 calories, and there is 17 grams of digestible carbohydrate. 7 grams of spirulina contain 1 gram of fat, including both omega-6 fatty acid and omega-3 fatty acid in approximately 1.5 omega-6 to 1 omega-3 fatty acid ratio. And this is acceptable. I mean, sometimes the ratio of omega-6, if it is 1 or 2 to 1 of the omega-3, this is acceptable. But omega-6, 16 or 20, and omega-3, only 1, this is unacceptable because the direction is going in the direction of inflammation, because omega-6 is inflammatory if it is in large amount, and omega-3 is anti-inflammatory, against the inflammation. So this ratio is important. So in spirulina, it is almost normal. The quality of protein in spirulina is excellent, comparable to the eggs. It gives all the essential amino acids that we need. It is often claimed to contain also vitamin B12, but they think this is a false vitamin B12, and it is called pseudo. Pseudo means false vitamin B12, which is, they think it is not effective in humans. But my personal view and thinking is different, because I know vitamin B12 is produced by the bacteria. And because from my personal experience of very high vitamin B12, even more than a normal range, in Britain the normal range is between 200 to 900 nanogram per ml. Nano mean 1 billionth of a gram. And in my case it was more than 1000, and this is very high. So the GP rang me to check if I take supplement, and I said no, I don't. So I repeat the test, it is still high, and I think it is because of the lifestyle and because of the probiotic and prebiotic which I take and make at home, and also I take sometimes the spirulina, and I think the bacteria in the microbiome produce vitamin B12, and it is. There are bacteria, and the names are there, which produce vitamin B12 in the colon, but they think that the colon does not absorb it, does not absorb the vitamin B12 which is produced in the colon. Because the colon function, they think it is water and electrolytes. And most of these vitamins and vitamin B12 is absorbed in the small intestine. But still, we don't know anything, or we don't know much about this microbiota. So I think we need more studies on people with high vitamin B12 who live a healthy lifestyle and they don't take supplement. Because all the literature, as if they copy from each other, they mention that vegetarian and vegan, they suffer from low vitamin B12, and all the literature recommend supplements, especially in the elderly, to take in the form of injections. And for me, I think this is not right. But this is my opinion. I could be right, I could be wrong. It needs more studies. So it is very powerful antioxidant, anti-inflammatory properties, this spirulina. And antioxidant, as we said, it is anti-rusting. And oxidative damage or rusting damage can harm the DNA and the cells. And it is one of the causes of cancer, especially if we have many cells with this damaged DNA. So this oxidative damage or rusting damage can drive chronic inflammation, which contribute to cancer and all other diseases. So spirulina is a fantastic source of antioxidant which can protect against oxidative damage, and the main active component is called phycocyanin. And this antioxidant as substance, it gives the spirulina its unique deep blue green color. As we said before, all the colors are good. They are anti-rusting, they are anti-cancer, they are very good. So this chemical, it gives the color deep blue-green. And this phycocyanin can fight free radicals and inhibit the production of inflammatory signaling molecules, providing an impressive antioxidant, anti-rusting, and anti-inflammatory effects or results. This spirulina can lower LDL and triglyceride level and raise HDL. I opted not to mention LDL as bad and HDL as good because there is nothing bad about LDL. LDL, when it is raised, it means that there is some injury in the body and it is raised just to help the repair of that injury, especially in the lining of the blood vessels, which is called the endothelium. And LDL, it consists of so many particles, and they are all good except one particle, which is not bad. And of course, when they do the blood test, they don't check the particles of LDL, but they check the total amount. And this is not helpful. So there is nothing wrong about it, only the small molecule which is harmful, especially if it is oxidized. So 1 gram of spirulina per day lowered triglycerides by 16.3% and lower LDL by 10.1%. It is not easy to say bad and good. This is very simple thinking. The study shows favorable effect with higher doses of 4 to 5 grams or even 80 grams per day. And heart diseases is the world leading cause of death. So many risk factors are linked to increased risk of heart disease. Also, it protects LDL cholesterol from oxidation. Because LDL, when it is oxidized, then it becomes harmful. One particle of it, the fatty structures in the body are susceptible to oxidative damage. And this is known as lipid peroxidation. It is a key driver of many serious diseases, and one of the key steps in the development of heart disease is the oxidation of bad, now I say LDL cholesterol. And it is not bad. This is what is always there, just to mention LDL cholesterol. The antioxidant in spirulina appear to be effective at reducing lipid peroxidation in both human and animals. And in human with diabetes type 2, 80 grams of spirulina per day significantly reduce markers of oxidative damage or of rusting. It also increase the level of antioxidant enzymes in the blood, the enzyme which fight rusting. It increase the level of anti-rusting enzymes. So I'll give some of the practical point about oxidation of fat. The oil is sensitive to oxidation by air, light, and heat. And now I'm talking kitchen and cooking. So you have to buy your organic cold-pressed olive oil in dark black glass bottles, not plastic, and in the house to keep this bottle of olive oil away from heat, from light, and to close the top tightly after you use it. Because, as we said, the oil will be oxidized by heat, light, and air. And this is very important to practice this in the kitchen of your house. So keep it in cold, dark cupboards, away from heat, or cover it with a black bag. Now, the nuts and seeds, they always sell it in plastic bags and without their natural shells. The natural shells are there, for example, in walnut, peanuts, almonds. It is for a reason. Nature make this hard shell or cover to protect the oil in these nuts from light, heat, and air. So what happens when they take the shell out and sell it? We should never buy this type of nuts. Never. Because they are already oxidized and they are toxic. So the best thing is to buy the walnut in its shell, and then when you want to eat, you break 1 or 2 or 3 in the mortar and pestle, and then you eat it. Or in the special tool which you crack the walnut. And the same with seeds like sunflower, pumpkin seed. Always buy them in their cover. Always. Because to buy them without the shell, they are already oxidized, as I said, and they are toxic. And all these nuts and seeds are sold also without shell. And then the seeds, because they are small size, the shell is very hard. And the body and the gut cannot digest it and absorb it. So these seeds, like sesame seeds, coriander seeds, cumin seeds, it is better to crush them in a coffee grinder. And you do it fresh when you want to use them. For example, 1 tablespoon of mixed seeds, crush it in the grinder, and then use it. This makes it more digestible and easy to be used by the body. Because if you don't crush these seeds, even flax seeds, chia seeds, if you don't crush them, they just pass through. The body cannot digest them. So you just wasted your money. That's all. And the food will be more expensive. Because what we need when we eat is to get the value, to get the benefit of these seeds and of these nuts. And this includes all the seeds: sesame seed, flax seeds, black seeds, cumin seeds, brown seeds, everything. Almonds should be, they sometimes sell fresh in a green thick shell, but most of the time they sell it in a brown skin. This is better to buy it like this, soak it, and then take the brown skin out, because the brown skin contains chemical which is called phytic acid, and this phytic acid will prevent the absorption of minerals like calcium in the food. So, and also you should not eat a lot of almonds and seeds and nuts, because they are very rich in oxalate, and too much oxalate can cause renal stone, and also it can cause arthritis and inflammation of the joints. The food is medicine. Food should be taken in sensible amounts. Too little is not good. Too much is not good. So balance, always balance. Because the plant is very clever and they don't want to be eaten. So they develop a lot of chemicals to protect themselves from the predators. But we humans, we learn how to prepare the food, soak it, sprout it, cook it, and learn how to eat this food and could tolerate it.